Welcome to the show. I want to get right into talking about the Republican debate in New Hampshire. Joining us are Bill Scher from Campaign for America's Future and LiberalOasis.com, and also Matt Lewis from the Daily Caller. Hey, guys, thanks for joining me.
Hey, great to be here.
So I was watching this debate. I have so many questions for you. I mean, the first one is the most notable thing that I found is that did the Republican candidates also know that this was way too early to be meaningful and therefore decided just to attack Obama instead of each other? I'll go to Matt first.
Well, first of all, let me say I think there's a lot of blame to go around, but I would really put a lot of blame on the format. I really think that when you have 7 candidates debating, it's hard to become substantive, to talk about real issues. I think that quite often John King, the moderator, whom I normally like, was really interrupting people, cutting them off early. And I think some of it was quite silly, the this or that thing. So I think the format sadly doesn't lend itself to thoughtful debate. I think Newt Gingrich, if you gave him an hour, would probably be more than happy to talk details with you. The other thing I'll say, though, is, look, I wrote a piece at the Daily Caller yesterday which points out there is a direct correlation between George W. Bush's plummeting of approval ratings and the beginning of the Democratic primary debates in 2003. The best way to get ahead in a primary is to attack the incumbent president of the other party. And Barack Obama has to be very careful here, because this really was the beginning of the end for George W. Bush. Even though he won re-election, the beginning of his cratering of approval started during the primaries.
Bill, what do you think? And what do you think? I mean, very specifically, Tim Pawlenty was given an opportunity to restate his criticism of Obamacare, as he called it, and he really didn't. That was just one striking example to me. What do you think was going on?
Well, certainly the professional pundits have really focused on that as his big miss moment. And to the extent that it's sort of his own fault, because he raised expectations that he was going to lay into Romney by previewing that line the day prior. Generally speaking, your point, David, was right. It is too early to go after each other. Candidates usually bide their time. They don't want to lay it all on the table 8 months in advance when few people are paying attention. They want to build up to that. People laid off at Howard Dean for a very long time in 2004 before, Kerry and Gephardt did their murder-suicide pact.
And Lieberman too, right? I think Lieberman was one of the first people. And really what you're doing is you're hoping that someone else will do it for you. What happens is if I attack Bill and I both become less popular and somebody else wins the election. So you keep hoping that someone else will do the dirty work.
Right. So, I mean, Pawlenty's mistake, I think, was not in being gentle during the debate. It was in taking his shot the day before the debate. So when it was put before him in the debate, it seemed like he was being weaselly and couldn't, look his opponent in the eye and say the same thing.
Were either of you surprised, and maybe Matt first, that Michelle Bachmann did this thing where she kind of like announced her presidential campaign during the debate? I mean, in other words, why was she in the debate before that if she was only exploring? I don't get it.
I was surprised by it, but it probably makes sense. I'm guessing that she alerted CNN that she would be participating in the debate and that she would be eligible because she would file her paperwork by the time the debate happened. I'm guessing they were clued in on that, but I thought it was a brilliant move. I was surprised by it, and it ended up, first of all, she would have probably been the lead anyway the next day on Tuesday morning in the headlines because she performed so well. But even had she not performed that well, she would have still, been in the headlines, or at least in the first paragraph, because she did make news at the debate. I thought it was a smart move.
Now, Bill, when you hear Matt Lewis say Michelle Bachmann performed well, I'm confused by that. I just heard her basically parroting Tea Party talking points. What did you see?
Well, look, a lot of professional pundits, not just conservatives, were really praising Bachmann's performance. I agree with you, David. I think she cleared a very low bar, and that she didn't drool on herself and was able to deliver some canned lines well, and all of a sudden she's now a plausible candidate. From my liberal perspective, puff up Bachmann all you want, fantastic, I love it. I hope she gets the nomination. I think that'd be easy pickings. But Huckabee had some good moments early too, and then once he became more serious after he won the Iowa caucuses, pressures become different, questions get tougher. your staying power is much more under duress. So, the fact that Pakman could, compose herself and sort of sand off some of her rough edges in a very constrained format with no real follow-up questions is one thing. Let's see if her poll numbers go up and how she handles the pressure if this actually takes off.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Lewis from the Daily Caller, you don't actually, regardless of how you would rate her performance in this so-called debate, you don't actually think Michelle Bachmann is at all a viable candidate, do you?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
I do, because I really think the field is incredibly wide open, and I feel like the rules have changed. I mean, normally you would disqualify her simply because she's a mere member of the House of Representatives. I mean, as far as I know, she's never held elective office, and it's been, at least 100 years since we've elected somebody from the House directly to become president. So, I mean, historically speaking, regardless of how you feel about Michelle Bachmann, just her positioning would not normally make her a top-tier candidate. But I think that things have changed so much to such a degree that she is, in fact, to be taken seriously.
Wow. Can I put some numbers on that, David?
Yeah, please.
When there is a more fractious primary, no clear front runner, more than 3 people, considered top tier, the person that wins the early contest tends to win around 35% of the primary vote. That's not a lot. So anyone who can consolidate some of the factions within the party has a shot at this, whether you're coming from the more calmer ex-governor side of things, Romney, Pawlenty, Huntsman, or you're coming from the more charged movement conservative side of things, Bachmann, Gingrich, Santorum, Kane. Anyone could potentially piece together 35%. And so if you can get your factions consolidated, and the other camp ends up fracturing. So let's say Romney and Pawlenty and Huntsman all have a piece of the calmer side of things, and none of them can break out. Bachmann clears the field on the right wing, and she's the only one being taken seriously there. She can get 35%. That's totally plausible.
Wow. Well, let's just hope she doesn't take up that 16-year-old on that Constitution debate, because I think that she can't possibly come out of that thing on top. Hey, last thing. Can we all agree that the Ron Paul revolution is not off to a good start, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it was it was in doubt to begin with. I will say this. I think that it's funny. I feel like there were several occasions when Ron Paul was asked a question, and he sort of had an interesting answer, but he just didn't package it well. I feel like if I could put him on pause and then step up and kind of repackage what he said in a better delivery, that he could have an even bigger impact. I mean, I do think, look, let's give Ron Paul a little bit of credit here. You start to see Republicans taking a bit different approach to foreign policy. A lot of them were talking about, getting out of Afghanistan. 4 years ago, when Ron Paul was in debates against Rudy Giuliani and John McCain and Mitt Romney and Mike Huckabee, the Republican Party was quite different. And I think the party has in some ways come toward Ron Paul, though he'll never be elected.
And Bill, last thing to you, forgetting about who you think is the most likely to be the Republican nominee, who do you think of the people that debated on Monday has the best shot of beating Obama?
Well, I think anyone who has a shot at beating Obama is coming from that calmer side of things, Romney, Pawlenty, and Huntsman when he does jump in. I think when you're getting on that movement conservative side of things, they are not going to be in sync with the middle of the country. The economy would have to really seriously crater for the public to say, I'll just take whoever is not Obama, and I don't care who it is. I think you put up someone from that camp, Obama can weather a struggling economy much better. He's got cushion to work with because he can say, look, you may not be totally thrilled with where things are right now, but you got a steady hand at the wheel as opposed to what your alternative is. Having an ex-governor there who's not a movement conservative has a better shot at taking advantage of a weak economy.
Which, by the way, is the position now of the Tea Party, which said they will support whoever is the Republican nominee. So distinctions between the Republican and Tea Parties being knocked down one at a time. I wish.
That's one Tea Party group, Tea Party Express. I just have to say that.
You're right, Matt. It is one. And so that's Matt Lewis from the Daily Caller, Bill Scher, liberaloasis.com, and Campaign for America's Future. Thanks, guys. We'll have you back when we get to the next level of debate, which hopefully will be a more legitimate one.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Take
Thanks,
care.
guys. Bye.